Can you hear me okay? Yes. First of all, thanks for the invitation to be here tonight. Coming up from Tampa, I appreciate the cold weather, so it's a nice change of pace from the endless summer we have down in Hillsborough. I know we're going to be talking about juvenile justice and kids getting into the adult system, but I want to provide some context on my viewpoint of the juvenile justice system and the criminal justice system generally. So I was sworn in this past January, and my mission as state attorney is pretty simple. It's to build a safer community while promoting justice and fairness for everyone. Now, I'm a strong believer in criminal justice reform. And criminal justice reform encompasses a lot of different policies and programs. But at its heart, it's about an idea. The idea that we as prosecutors have to evaluate the long-term consequences of what we do every day in the system. How do we make our community safer in the long run? How do we reduce recidivism in the long run? What's the long-term impact of conviction and arrest and incarceration on a person, on a person's family, on an entire community? I have 134 assistant state attorneys who work in my office. And from day one, I've been trying to get them to understand that their job in handling more than 60,000 cases a year is not to view each case as a person to be prosecuted, but as a problem to be solved. Now, what does that mean in practice? It sounds nice on a bumper sticker, but what does it actually mean in practice? It means that we have to focus our resources on the crimes that pose the greatest threat to our community. Violent crime, serious economic crime, the serial recidivists. It means that we have to find smart alternatives to prison for nonviolent offenders. It means that we have to change the way we treat victims, not viewing victims as a means to an end in the system, but as an end in and of itself, achieving justice and protecting their rights. It means that we have to be engaged with the community. Engagement with the community promotes transparency, it rebuilds trust, it gives the community a voice to raise concerns about what's going on in the system. And perhaps there's no area, no arena that's better fit for reform than juvenile justice. This is a moment of opportunity, not just in Hillsborough County where I am, not just in Florida, but across the country. For the first time in a generation, we're having a discussion about the criminal justice system. We have advocates on both sides of the political spectrum talking about the need for reform. In Hillsborough County, where I am, we have law enforcement, public defender's office, judges, and now a state attorney who's recognized the need for criminal justice reform. Now is the time to act. The question is how? What we need, ultimately, are smart policies that have proven effective to reduce crime and reduce recidivism. In the juvenile space, that starts with programs that steer first-time and nonviolent offenders away from the downward spiral of the system. The criminal justice system, I like to say for rock and roll fans, is like Hotel California. Easy to get in, but you can never leave. We need to do a much better job of keeping kids out of the system to avoid saddling them with arrest and conviction records that make it harder for them to get a job, harder for them to go to college, harder for them to join the military, that impede their ability to become law-abiding, tax-paying, contributing members of our communities. Instead, we need to be working as hard as we have been to keep them on the right path. Secondly, we do need to be tough on certain types of juvenile offenders, but not tough necessarily in the lock them up, throw away the key, and turn your back on them way. Tough on offenders by using the full range of resources that we have in the system to actually solve the long-term problem of reducing crime and reducing recidivism. Third, we need to hold people accountable, but we need to do it in a way that works. We can't just have a knee-jerk reaction to things the way we've been doing it, frankly, for a generation, that promotes a revolving door of criminal justice and undermines the goals of community safety. Now, I'll tell you, there is no silver bullet for this. It requires a combination of things. Diversion programs, civil citation programs like the one we just started in Hillsborough County, and restorative justice programs. It also requires working with, guiding, and trusting our law enforcement partners so that they understand how we serve the best long-term interests of the community, so that we're encouraging community policing, so that we're encouraging officers to understand what's going on in their neighborhood so they can make the decision up front whether to arrest or whether not to arrest. And it requires getting involved in the community, because there are too many kids out there who lack things that we all take for granted: opportunity, education, stability, discipline, and tragically, hope. By giving kids those tools, we're going to end up reducing crime in the long run. And this is how we promote the mission that I outlined at the beginning: building a safer community while promoting justice and fairness for everyone. That's the goal, and this is an opportunity to take advantage of it. Thank you.